Hello everyone, I'm Chester44 and welcome to this Let's Play of Neverwinter Nights. Last episode, we managed to actually complete our task in the second of the districts, the Beggar's Nest. And we managed to get the Yonti heart, basically the blood of the Yonti, back to Erebeth. 2 districts down, 2 to go. We would move on to the next one, but I want to see if it's time to hear a bit more stories from all of our companions. So let's talk to Dalen and find out.
Something you need?
Dalen, I'd like you to continue your story from before. In the time we have been together, you have respected my request for privacy, Ken. Now I feel I am ready to tell you the rest of my tale. I mentioned my exile to you before, Ken. The truth is, I did not willingly leave the Uthgard to come to Neverwinter. The tribe cast me out. I am a monstrous half-breed. As a child, it was obvious my blood was tainted. I was violent and savage. It was only because of the pleas of my mother that the tribe did not slay me as an abomination while still an infant. What about your father? I never knew my father. My mother never spoke of him, though I saw the pain in her eyes whenever I asked. Where the pain came from, I could not say. Some in our tribe said he was a vile beast who forced himself on my mother during a raid. Others claimed my mother loved him and welcomed him to her bed, then wept when he was murdered by the warriors who discovered him. The truth, I shall never know, for it died with my mother last winter. At her death, the tribe cast me out. Can you blame them? Why waste good provisions on a half-breed bastard yet to prove himself in the world? Someday you'll prove yourself and they'll learn to accept you. It is as you say. Until I prove myself, the tribe cannot be certain where my loyalties lie. Once I show the spirit of the Uthgard is pure within me, the Red Tiger tribe will welcome me back. And it is not as if they abandoned me in the cold. They gave me food and weapons before they sent me out into the world to prove myself. And a sacred talisman of the tribe once carried by my mother. Forgive me, Ken, but I cannot speak of this anymore. It is too painful. I want to help you, Dalen. I thank you for your kind offer, but there is little you can do for me right now. Please, Ken, the things I said before, the words were... This is not the time to speak of such things. Perhaps later I will speak more of this, but not now. We could talk with him, but... Well, he won't give us the rest of the story. But we have gotten more of the story from him. Cabbage? Is a guy named Cabbage? Huh. So, that's what we know about him. We can still learn the stories of the other people here, and we shall. We're just going to need to talk to each of them. So, now we know a bit about Dalen. He is still part of the Uthgard tribe. They just cast him out because he's a half-orc. Yeah, half-orcs are part orc, so... yeah. Racism is still alive here. Anyway, let's try Tommy's story. Continue your story from before, that whole thing from Kalimshan. What's this? Oh, right, where was I? Was I telling you about my infiltration of the house of the Great Vizier Sabalan Viahead? Yes, I believe I was. This was no ordinary mission, my friend. Sabalan had stymied the efforts of my Medusan patroness for many years. He was a mage of no little power. Sending me to kill him was both a vote of confidence in my abilities and, I thought, a near certain sentence of death. Looking me in the eyes would have been cleaner. Right, because his patron was a Medusa. Why agree to the task, then? Well, it was not as if I was given a choice. With my patroness, you had the option of succeeding or of becoming the newest addition to a garden statuary. Perhaps it's fortunate that us halflings aren't given much credit. I was able to squirm my way into the Vizier's service as a kitchen boy, and nobody gave me a second thought. For over a month I was pleased to serve the Vizier for his meals. I spent my time studying him, looking for a way to kill him cleanly, and he barely even noticed my presence. Why didn't you just poison his food? I would have, I suppose, except that he ate his meals with his daughter, and that made things a bit complicated. His daughter, the sweet lass, Saida was her name. Human, to be sure, but she never looked down upon me. I suppose I delayed killing Savalan at the time just to continue being around her, though I didn't think that at the time. There was just one more excuse after another. The months grew longer, and Saida and I grew closer. She couldn't resist my charms, of course. No one can when I put my mind to it. We had to be secret about it. I was, of course, just a kitchen boy. Were you in love with her? Oh, I don't know about that. I thought so at the time, sure enough. My patroness kept threatening to turn me into a statue and let the pigeons have their way with me, however. I was young and foolish and stupid, however. Three traits that are great in a buxom lass, but poor in an assassin. I decided I couldn't hurt Saida by killing her father and told my patroness to go look in a mirror. Needless to say, she didn't take it well. Why didn't you just kill the mage and run off with the girl? Well, the girl wasn't going anywhere. Trust me, I tried. Come to think of it, the mage wasn't that easy to kill either. My Medusa patroness decided to take matters into her own hands, of course. If I'd known, I would have left Kalimpor a lot earlier. I still don't see how this all made you famous. Certainly didn't look that way at the time, I'll grant you that, my lord. At any rate, it's a bit of a story. I'll tell you the rest some other time. Let's keep on with your quest for now. Why you gotta keep me in suspense, Tommy? I mean, come on, it's a full story. Why tell it in 3 parts? Because yes, it's gonna be 3 parts. All of these are 3 parts. Kind of annoying. That's kind of how BioWare did things. They only tell you so much. Alright. Let's try hearing about Sharwin here, the Highborn Bard.
Is there some...
Let's continue your story. I suppose I did offer to tell you about my family, didn't I? Very well then, Ken, I'll tell you. By my family, I actually mean my mother. She's the only true family I've ever known. I never met my father. He and my mother parted ways before I was born. Mother was an adventurer, you see. A mage, in fact, of some skill. This is what other people have told me, however, as Mother would never discuss it. She left their life behind, along with my father, to marry a man of wealth. You don't sound as if you approve. Perhaps not now, but I didn't know any better then. My mother considered her past nonsense, as she had much more important things to think about. My mother wanted wealth. Well, most adventurers do. She wanted to live a life of fine jewelry, of carriage rides, in a fine mansion in Blacklake. Her husband was a means to an end. She left behind her magic and instead spent her life spending money. Far more money than my stepfather could ever afford. She didn't care a whit for his complaints so long as he kept providing her coin. When he died unexpectedly, she was devastated. Not because he was gone, but because he left behind a mountain of debts. She was terrified at the thought of being poor. What about you? Were you saddened by his death? I never really knew him, to be honest. My mother kept me quite distant, shuttled from one private school to another. She formed a desperate plan. Although she rarely saw me when I was a child, now she had need of me. I was a comely young woman, and she would see me wed to a wealthy bachelor. Oh boy, I see where this is going. Not for my benefit, of course, but for her own. I was so meek and accustomed to being ruled by her, I couldn't even conceive of an objection. My mother had her eye on the young Lord Farthington. He would never stoop to marry poor nobility, however, not unless he desired me. I'd have to seduce him. Did you? I had intended to. I went to Lord Farthington's estate to attend a party being held in his honor, my mother meaning us to meet. When we arrived, I was awestruck at the size of the hall. There were so many people dancing I could barely take it all in. Oh, and the music was so beautiful. I stepped onto the floor and approached the man my mother pointed out. I was very nervous, but the man was handsome and kind and witty. I fell in love with him immediately. My mother grabbed me away from him angrily not long later. I had mistaken her directions. It was not Lord Farthington I had danced with after all. It was far too late for my heart, however. Who was this man, then? His name was Dannon, a penniless apprentice bard in the service of Lord Farthington. I was utterly in love with him. My mother told me to forget all about him. I couldn't, however, despite the possibility that we might lose everything. Love can do that. I was young and blind and hopeless. I felt for the first man who showed interest in me. Not that my mother intended for that to stop us. I had a choice, obviously. Take the path I was expected to and seduce Lord Farthington, or run off with the penniless bard. I should have done one or the other. As it turned out, I made a mess of everything. Being a young fool, I suppose that could be expected. I'll tell you what happened sometime later, perhaps. But let's just continue on with what you were doing, shall we?
I have been waiting for...
As you wish, Sharwin. I can probably make a few guesses as to what ended up happening, but we'll learn the story later on. For now, we move on to the next henchman. The Monk of Death.
I have been waiting for... Is there something you need?
Yes, I'd like to talk. I want you to continue your story from before.
Very well, Ken. I have been reluctant to speak of my time at Mithril Hall, but you will not let the matter rest.
I gave you some time.
While Bruenor Battlehammer reclaimed the throne at Mithril Hall not 20 years ago, it rekindled a fierce racial pride in all the dwarves of the north. I was one of many who flocked to Bruenor's banner, one of many who came to battle the denizens of the Underdark and drive them from the mines beneath Mithril Hall.
But they wouldn't accept you, would they?
This was long before I joined the Order of the Long Death, and at first Mithril Hall welcomed me, for even then I did not fear death, and I was eager to inflict it upon my enemies. There were many among Bruenor's followers who shared my love of battle and the reckless fury with which I slaughtered my foes, but none of them appreciated the terrible beauty of what was all around us. Have you ever heard the glorious chorus of screams of dying drow echoing in the chambers of a dwarven mine? Or paused in battle to taste the palpable specter of death descending on the field like a cool mist? Have you ever stood over a dying comrade, drinking in his pain and fear as his life bleeds away, gazing into his eyes to glimpse the terrible understanding shining through in the final instant death claims him?
I've seen my share of killing, if that's what you mean.
After the battles, I would walk among the scattered corpses, fascinated by the truth of their depths. The others found it disturbing, I knew, but I couldn't stop. The compulsion was too strong. And as I wandered amidst the twisted, mangled bodies and gazed into the masks of agony forever frozen on their faces, I understood. Drow, Duergar, dwarf. In death we are all the same. In death we are all perfect. I tried to share my revelations with my brothers in arms, but they could not understand. They only looked at me with horror and disgust.
They were weak, Grimnaw. They couldn't dare to face death like you.
I left Mithril Hall shortly after my revelation in search of something. I found the Order of the Long Death. I suppose I cannot blame my fellow dwarves for their reaction. The acceptance of death is not easy. Even among my order, there are those who cannot face the Silent Lord when their time comes.
What do you mean by that?
I'm sorry, Ken. I should not have said anything about this to you. This is a matter that must be solved by those of my order.
You can tell me, Grimnaw. Maybe it's something I can help you with.
This is not the time to speak of this, Ken. Let us return to our mission. The Silent Lord's hunger will not be sated by mere words.
As you wish, Grimnaw. You creepy little son of a bitch. Anyway, now we know a bit more about him. Let me have some water, and then we'll try talking to Lino here. Refreshing. Always gonna need a drink after voicing him.
I hoped that you would return, so I waited here. I've hardly damaged anything since you left. I thought you'd be proud. May I join with you once more, my friend?
Yes, just so we can speak.
Hey there, dear.
Tell me more about your story, if you may. You were kicked out of the temple when you were trying to help because you caused some damage? I appreciate that you have waited patiently to hear more of my story. I think we have gone through enough together to warrant a deeper level of trust. I just ask that you don't make fun of me since this was such a dark blot on my name. Many years ago, a cleric performed a service for the people of Everesca by uncovering a Drow plot to destroy the city. Sahanine Moonbow came and presented the priest with a silver goblet. And that is what was stolen? Yes, the thief stole it right out of the temple and managed to sneak out of Everesca. No small accomplishment there. The other priests were frightfully mad. Only the head priest was willing to concede that it could have happened to someone else. But of course it didn't. It happened to the person that broke the head off the golden statue of Corellon. Wait, what? I didn't know what to do, so I stayed up all night praying to Sahanine to guide my path. The goddess heard my prayer, and just before the first ray of light broke the dark, I was granted a vision. What happened in the vision? I saw myself leaving Everesca and going on a long journey. At the end of the journey, I returned with a chalice. The trip itself was a blur. I had no idea where to go, other than north and west. When I told the priests of my vision that would take me far away from them, they had a cheerful celebration in honor of my sacred quest. It was the first moment in my life when I felt I truly belonged. Yes, I'm sure they were very happy. For you. But now they will never welcome me back to their city. My quest has failed. Surely it's not failed. You'll find it someday. No, you don't understand. No one will ever understand. I'll be an outcast for life. Please, Ken, I should not have said so much. We'll talk more about this later, but not now.
I've been waiting for you.
Did someone steal it again or something? Why would it be so hard now? Anyway, one more companion to speak with. Wasn't much from Linu, but let's speak with the gnome.
You're back, so you must need something. The most logical assumption is that you want me to join up with you again, correct?
Well, more than we have to speak.
Is there something you need?
I want you to continue your story from before. You seem quite interested in my time as an apprentice under Profero, Ken. Yeah, I suppose I can afford a few minutes for me to recount those days to you. Profero instilled in me the basic principles of magic and the underlying laws governing the arcane. His knowledge and wisdom were an inspiration to me, though his organizational skills were somewhat lacking. What do you mean by that? I would constantly stumble across magic items carelessly strewn about the tower. Potions and elixirs from half-finished experiments would be left sitting out on the kitchen table. Ah, yes, he was speaking of how he got accepted as an apprentice. Ancient scrolls he had been copying would be stuffed under the cushions of his chairs. Wands would turn up in closets and drawers. And he never, ever locked his laboratory, despite the countless powerful magic items and dangerous experiments he often dabbled in. Oh, you must have found that quite a temptation. I admit, seeing all those potions and wands and scrolls just lying around was difficult, and I must confess that I eventually did give in to the temptation. This should be good. I just snapped. I couldn't take it anymore, and I did something rash and completely out of character. I waited until my master left on an extended trip, and then I cleaned up Profero's laboratory. I organized the scrolls and potions and wands. I built shelves to store the magical components of his research, and I made a catalog card system so he could cross-reference all of his tests and results. Of course. Items that were particularly powerful or unstable I locked safely away in a magically reinforced chest with a key that I presented to Profero on his return. That's it. You just cleaned up. What can I say, Ken? I was young and foolish. Profero's own reaction was similar to yours. He couldn't believe what I had done, although he did continue to use the filing system I had set up for him. You had all that magic at your fingertips, and you didn't even try to use any of it? What kind of sorcerer are you? Weren't you even curious? Of course I was curious, Ken, but my hunger for experimentation was tempered by reason. Imagine the damage I could have done if I had dared experiment on my own. I mean, I guess I can understand that, but still. I was an apprentice, so the sensible course of action was for me to follow the lead of my master. Any other course of action would have been illogical. That's... I guess your actions make sense now that you've explained them. I admit my actions may seem overly cautious, but that is the way of my people. Curiosity is tempered with careful analysis. However, ever since I left Lanton, I find I am growing more bold in my quest for discovery. After all, I did come to a plague-infested city in order to chronicle a new disease, among other things. Among other things? What do you mean? Is there another reason you came to Neverwinter? I'm sorry, Ken. I should not have said anything about this to you. It is really a trivial matter, and you have far more important things on your mind. Oh, you can tell me, Bodinock. Maybe it's something I can help you with. Ask me about this later, Ken, and I will be happy to continue my tale. But for now, we should focus on your mission for Lady Arabeth.
I have been waiting for you.
If you insist, then. So, through this, we've learned more about, well, each of them. It does seem like some of them are going to have quests that they are going to want us to help them with. Very clearly, Grimnaw is looking for something that we can help him with. Linu made clear that she was looking for something pretty much from the beginning. And Bodyknock came here apparently looking for something. Dalen, Sharwin, and Tommy, however, are entirely around their own tales. They haven't told us they need anything yet. They're just talking about their past. We're probably going to need to help them with something, but the question is, what? There's been no indication of what that could possibly be. Well, given another level or two, I'm sure we'll learn. Maybe after we finish with the next district, which, I believe we're going to go into the Docks District next. In fact, now that I think about it, when we look at, no, not that, this one, the Haluath Dig logbook, we went to the Beggar's Nest first, it was listed first. We'll go to the docks next. Northwestern Quarter Aqueducts. Is it the Aqueducts of all places? We'll find it. So anyway, we need to go into the we need to go into the Docks District next. And I believe we actually do have another quest there too. Yeah. Well, we do have one quest for the Moonstone Mask. Finding a piece of art in there and thieving it. Where is it? Yes, a statuette of the female form reputed to be in the Docks District estate of a certain Androd Golden. And there's also someone else who we had a quest for. I'm surprised it's not listed here, actually. Huh. Yes, the quest for the, whatever her name was. The prostitute in the upper area of the of the Moonstone Mask. Yes, sorry, I'm fumbling through things. Anyway, we'll go into the Docks District. Now, what was happening in the docks? Oh yes, it seemed like, pirates or something had been taking over the area. We'll investigate. That'll be in the next episode, however. I'm gonna cut this episode short, but this seemed like a good idea for an episode. An episode where we just talk with our companions and learn some more about them. Get more of the story. We'll eventually learn the rest. But next episode, we'll go into the Docks District. Till then, I'm Chester44. That is Ken Daniels and Dalen Red Tiger. This has been a Let's Play of Neverwinter Nights, and I shall see you all next time.